So, good afternoon. Welcome to the 1873 TV. I'm joined by Dr. Shumba, the president of the United Democratic Alliance, UDA. He's visiting South Africa, and he comes on a beautiful day. Is this a Tuesday or Monday?
Monday.
Oh, I see. That's a special day. That's the 19th of March 2018. Dr. Shumba, you've heard about the externalization list.
I have. I took note of it this morning.
Okay. What is your take on the list and what informs it?
Unfortunately, I have not had sufficient time to introspect it. What is critical is that a list has been put in the public domain. And we, as Zimbabweans, both private and corporate, are concerned about its qualitativeness.
Okay.
We are concerned that the manner with which such corporate information will be put in the public domain without having been tested or given the right to have the corporates that are alleged to have externalized put to their defense, or at least respond to their involvement in the alleged external.
You were a legislator,
yeah,
until recently. And what are the prescripts of the law in terms of presumption of innocence? What does the law provide for?
It is clear that you are innocent until proven guilty. That is the law. That is the legal point. That is the constitution.
What does this? What? Okay.
What is wrong, and this is what the Mnangagwa regime has been perpetuating, is that they first either arrest you, allege, and then seek to get clarity when they've already injured both the person and shape of the alleged perpetrator.
Okay.
They cause corporates to get a criminal identity when they're in fact unaware that such are the availments by this regime.
Okay. Outside the regime, you are looking at companies, and most of the entities that are mentioned on the list are corporate entities.
Indeed.
And when we say private limited liability, what comes to mind in terms of the understanding of this corporate civilization?
When we refer to private limited, it's clear that we draw up a line separating individuals from the corporate.
Okay.
And therefore, what the corporate is dealing with, there's a clear separation from what the owners of that corporate or the executives of that corporate in their person can basically be joined in the matter. So there's a clear separation as to who is protected by the law and who isn't in respect to the activities of that corporate.
Okay. So we then talk of a company being listed as an externalizer. That idea of this construct of the law, because a company by nature is a creature of law.
Yes.
It doesn't have a mind outside the minds of the people who use it as an instrument. How can legally, conceptually, a company be accused of externalization? What would it have to do to be?
I think this is what we call shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
It negates practical tenets.
Yeah.
That the company, though it is an entity on its own and a legal persona, does not get up and walk to a bank and transfer money or export resources out of Zimbabwe. There will be individuals representing that company in the various capacities. These individuals will be the perpetrators, not a company.
Yeah. So a company conceptually
cannot act on its own.
Because a company is registered in terms of which country?
In terms of the law, in terms of the company.
No, which law? When you say African Associated Mines Private Limited, in which country is that company registered?
It depends on the jurisdiction.
It's Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So it's a corporate citizen of Zimbabwe.
Indeed.
And at the material time, as you know, the SMM matter, what was the lawful currency of Zimbabwe?
Indeed.
What was the lawful currency of Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwe's currency is clear.
No. At the time, 2004 and before, what was the currency of Zimbabwe?
It was the Zimbabwe dollar.
Okay. So how does the company externalize US dollars when it's not capable of receiving
US dollars?
US dollars.
Yeah. So the allegation here is purely to say the company may have exported and it did not remit.
No, not remitting is a crime in the country where the non-remittance take place.
Indeed.
It cannot be an offense. Because,
yes.
Because
there is no
what you export are goods, is that correct?
Indeed.
You export the physical form,
Mm-hmm.
and you receive the financial form.
Mm-hmm.
What if the person you have sent the money to fails to pay?
Mm-hmm.
What?
You need to identify the delinquency, and that's what
Zimbabwe
does not have jurisdiction over.
Zimbabwe does not have jurisdiction over the non-remittance.
Yes.
It has jurisdiction to export the goods.
Indeed.
Not to say, why didn't you pay? That would be a civil claim in the country and the customer where the goods were sent to. Do you think President Mnangagwa understands that part of commerce?
It is difficult to assume that he understands because even the process of international trade clearly does not seem to be understood, where companies that export certain prerequisites take place, certain financial undertakings are made either by guarantees or by instruments, some form of an instrument.
Yeah.
And to honor that instrument becomes a different a process altogether, a subject to of inspectorate as opposed to the requirements of the head of state of the country to get involved in such unfortunate decisions, or at least to drive such a process. It's unfortunate that that is resident in the mind of the president of the nation.
Yeah. Okay, so we are saying that there is a conceptual problem.
Yes.
As to what externalization is and what is not. But the president seems convinced that he understands externalization, and he's a lawyer, and he has narrowed it to a crime.
Indeed, but you must find the unfortunate behavior of the current executive to be one driven by desperation, trying to bring relevance, trying to justify that they're doing something, trying to act on hearsay without having thought through what they are doing and the implications to Zimbabwe as a nation and to the presidency on the decisions and processes that they undertake. He also negates that going public about possible untruths can be very punitive to the government of Zimbabwe from the various corporates, and that he is actually complicating the recovery process of our economy.
So we now understand that from day one, President Mnangagwa believes this animal called externalization exists, and he gave 90 days for people to return the money. And return to who, one may ask? Who would be the injured party in the non-remittance?
The exporter.
Are you sure that is understood? You are a member of ZANU-PF.
If I have goods,
yeah,
they are my goods.
Yeah.
And if I'm not paid for those goods, it is I that should be the claimant, and not President Mnangagwa to act on my behalf.
Are you sure that point, that narrow point you are raising is understood, sufficiently understood?
I think it's about understanding process, understanding corporate governance, unless what is alleging is that all goods exported out of Zimbabwe are exported on behalf of the fiscus.
No, because what would be the interest of a president in your private export? Because if you sell eggs in Mashingo, does the government get interested in what you receive?
No. What I receive is important to the sustenance of my operations and the profitability which I draw. What I believe he is mistaken in his obsession is that when that money comes to Zimbabwe,
yeah,
it becomes of the state.
It is nationalization in disguise.
Yes.
So the externalization list is informed by some socialist thinking. Would you agree?
Yes, it's even informed by an obsession of feeling entitled to the monies that are basically belonging to other people.
But that's theft, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, when you say Zimbabwe is open for business, and this kind of language comes in, isn't it open for theft?
It is expropriation. If these corporates that wish to invest in Zimbabwe,
yeah,
invested and for some reason exported,
yeah,
and the process of payment,
yeah,
was delinquent at some stage or another, then the state intervenes by publishing them in the papers and appearing to criminalizing them. That would be very unfortunate.
Yeah.
We would have rather had a process of supporting corporates in recovering monies that are due to them, as opposed to try and criminalize the corporates that. But
the criminalization is an idea.
Yes.
It starts from one premise, that what is yours is government.
Yes.
What is yours is mine.
I'm doing you a favor.
I'm doing you a favor.
Yes.
So the proceeds are mine. The harvest is mine. So if you are a farmer,
it's unfortunate that the president's obsession is totally misplaced and devoid.
Do you think it's misplaced, or it's a generalized people? Because the people are expecting a list, and he produced a list to give to the people.
Yes.
How many people saw it coming? That the list will be tired, the list will be a joke.
Even if the list is tired and it's a joke, it is the obsession for a president to be obsessed with such trivialities and misconceptions, a lack of proper trade process understanding, and display such myopism at national level. But do
you think it's a personal issue, or it's a generalized feeling that people, when you export, they believe the proceeds belong to government? When you harvest, they think the harvest belongs to government.
and unfortunately, this is the limited scope of the current regime. However,
is it a current regime or generalized?
I don't think Zimbabweans as a whole buy into that.
No, there's a lot that has happened. In lawyers, accountants, who have been part of this wave of criticism. I mean, saying you are indebted to the state, you are this, you are that. This thinking has seen Kuruneri's life being destroyed. Has seen Makamba, has seen many other people. So it cannot be just Mnangagwa's thinking. I think it would be wrong for us to personalize it.
I am not personalizing it, but he is at the helm now that this is happening, so he must take responsibility for it. As to how broad it is, it's unfortunate that this thinking is poisoned a lot of other people's minds and their judgments, and forget that the ownership of any private entity remains its own and not the state's. And the state
there are many socialists, even socialist countries, where this idea of ownership of harvest is not understood.
No, so, when a banana farmer grows banana and pays for his inputs to get that banana plantation mature, whatever he does when he boxes those, sells them on the local market and sells the others overseas, is his business process and nothing to do with any state institution.
So then what do you think when the president got into office and he signed that document, what do you think could have invaded his mind? Because surely he's convinced that the exports belong to government. That's the premise on which he would say you are a looter. Imagine you have grown your bananas, using your own example. You harvest the bananas and you decide to sell them to a Mozambican, a businessman. Then someone says you are a looter.
This is the point. It's a lack of understanding of the process. And it's also a belief that the state is entitled to private profits. It is also a misconception that if a country's foreign currency reserves are low, therefore it can now dip its hands into private capital to buttress its own delinquent position.
But what do thieves do?
It's exactly that.
How do they function?
They entitle themselves to other people's things.
When they do harvest it, some people call it affirmative shopping. Have you ever heard the word?
I've heard it.
It's
unfortunate that if all that money, assuming, let's give this assumption, assuming that list was true, and all that money came to Zimbabwe, it is the private business's asset, and not the state.
No,
it must be understood.
No, please go on top of the mountain and explain that, because the country can go to Mawere without you knowing.
Indeed.
And you assume that people are applying the same common sense you are applying to come to that conclusion that the harvest belongs to the farmer. Period.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But if you keep entitling yourself to the farmer's revenue, then there's a big problem. What the state should be saying is the farmer complying to the fiscal regulations.
No, you don't need the list. Yes. Why would the president be involved in compliance?
It's unfortunate.
Well, have you ever seen president being involved in compliance?
This is the first.
When you vote for his budget, have you ever voted for him to apply his mind on this?
If we asked, is he aware, for instance, how much gold is being externalized from Zimbabwe? He could tell us.
Oh, why so?
We believe that he should have the data, given his.
I think
who's illegally exporting gold,
and
where the remittance
and which helicopter is picking up the gold. I see now it's a state house matter. Don't you find something wrong there?
Indeed. I think it's not just about the list. We should introspect the motive behind the list. It is very easy, given the delinquent laws that are available in our statutes in Zimbabwe, for President Mnangagwa to reconstruct all these companies.
And then the next step, and the shares are gone.
They're gone.
There's already an amount. But we found something interesting. That Zimplats in the Panama Papers who was there. And the executives were being paid.
Indeed.
But it's not on the list.
Indeed.
Ungi is not on the list.
Indeed.
Zimasco is not on the list. So all the mining companies are not on the list.
Except those that is particular interest in having on the list.
So
it's very clear that it's a very partisan process. Unfortunately, our nation is being fooled to start thinking in a certain stereotype manner.
So we are seeing ourselves in problems.
It's sad that State House starts being obsessed by individual corporate affairs of private entities. Under the guise of trying to recover state funds. None of these companies listed here are state players, and therefore the state has no business pursuing private interests.
But the understanding, somebody says, hi, Dr. Shumba, good to see you, good topic, good man. Anonzi Elias Musakwa, akaiwane bimari inoita 9 million. Did you see that, Dr. Shumba? Can you please help me?
It is very wrong for us to be discussing an individual. But if at all that list was true, and Elias Musakwa externalized that amount, he did not put it in a bag and leave. He moved it through commercial processes, through banks, which transfer would have been okayed by the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And so source of funds would have been established at that point, whether it was a loan and the purpose for which he was sending the money out for, and the beneficiaries of that transaction. So I think we ought to respect private businesses, and if Musakwa did something illegal and it had been approved by the Reserve Bank and the bank transferred that money on his behalf, really the bank and the applicant should be asked to respond to that transaction. And the Reserve Bank must also explain the basis upon which it approved that transaction. So I would like to respect Musakwa's private entitlement to be presumed to be innocent until he was proven guilty. It's unfortunate that such publications can be harmful to innocent people.
Okay, so if we look, 90% of that list is Chinese. I don't know, that's what Patience is saying.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what Patience is saying. What do you think of that list? I think first we have established something, that actually the list is informed by a misunderstanding of this whole thing.
Yes, there are Chinese companies there and others.
Yeah.
The issue is the process of transferring goods or monies from a certain jurisdiction is undertaken through process. That process is approved.
Yeah.
And the process of transferring monies out of the jurisdiction of Zimbabwe, as is been alleged by those Chinese and Mnangagwa that you mentioned, is also a process where one goes to a bank and applies to transfer the monies. The bank seeks the Reserve Bank's approval and grants it. There is nothing criminal about that process. To now seek to criminalize those individuals because of your own porous processes is wrong. So the Reserve Bank must account as to how they approved transactions that they now seek to criminalize. The banks must explain what was the basis of the application before going public. We ought to respect people's rights to privacy. Yes.
So if we look at what is taking place here, we are seeing maybe a misapplication of the law.
Oh yes, definitely. Not only misapplication, people's reputations are being harmed right now by these presumptions of guilt, deadlines that are not based at any or supported by any legal instrument. Purely a pronouncement by a president without due inquiry or request for clarity from those that are involved in the transactions.
So we now look at the questions that are coming up. Zimbabwe tripartite sure nevano ava through Dr. Shumba. Can you discuss the term externalization again?
It is very difficult to define it, not in the current pretext. It is when you take monies from one jurisdiction that are due in another jurisdiction and keep them illegally outside of that jurisdiction. And when that happens, the party that has been prejudiced would be the one, in this case, would be the state. It would be the one seeking that money be repatriated to itself. And in such a case, the state has a right to claim to want its money back. Now, where you've not borrowed from the state and taken the money outside, or where you've not used the state resources to externalize, the state has no local standing.
Should have no local standing.
Yes.
But in this case, there is some disease.
You see, we have got this in Zimbabwe, where it's not only about this case, it's also about a case of any black man that makes money. He must be investigated because he must be presumed to be criminal. That's the same illness.
Have you ever heard, you have traveled, I think, to many countries.
Yes.
Have you ever heard this crime called externalization in your life?
It's amazing. Either there is a different definition in Zimbabwe of externalization, because the so-called investors that you are trying to attract to Zimbabwe are moving monies from other jurisdictions to Zimbabwe. And they've made their own private due diligence and so that Zimbabwe would be a destination for their capital. When they move money from the jurisdictions that they are not committing a crime. It's not externalization. And they cannot be sued in those countries for having externalized monies. We would not have what we call international trade if externalization was to be defined in terms of the Mnangagwa precepts.
Is it a Mnangagwa issue or it's a generalized issue?
It is generalized maybe successively, but in this case, this list was promised by the president. He has set the tone for this. He has exposed the myopism that is related to his thinking and the definition of externalization and the state's relationship to private capital.
So there is some problem in the understanding.
Indeed.
You are a political actor.
Yes.
And if you look at what you are trying to do to build the Zimbabwe of your dreams, do you think this idea of the externalization list speaks to your founding values?
As president of the United Democratic Alliance, I would like to assure private citizens in Zimbabwe, private entities, that their capital remains theirs and that they can transact it to the best advantage of their own individual interests, without the state seeking to import its rights on their capital. I'll give an example. We've got a lot of diasporians in the various jurisdictions of the world. When they move money from those jurisdictions to another country, they are not externalizing. It is their money. They are choosing the destination for their money. The states and governments in those jurisdictions cannot claim to have rights to those individuals' monies. And that, in reverse, applies to Zimbabwe. What we should do is create an environment to attract as many of that inward flow in our country, and not to try and take title of monies that is not ours.
So I think there are comments coming through. Thank you, Dr. Shumba, for explaining this. Grace read as Apa ED Ativata. I thought he was going to name and shame individuals. I'm not happy with this.
It is true. What the president is trying to do here is desperate to prepare some tone that he will use to go to elections, and unfortunately is shooting his own foot.
He's shooting his foot, and what we are dealing with is actually a person who really is saying something. What is he saying to the people of Zimbabwe?
Basically, if you have money, you should only take it and use it as he pleases, as the state pleases. And if you wish to move that money in and out Zimbabwe, then you lose your rights to your money. They start to prescribe your entitlement to that money. They
think that your money is not yours.
No, basically, they think all money is the state's. And therefore, they have the right to tell you where not to take it. You see, none of these people allegedly, and this corporate are allegedly smuggled. Because the corporate in its legal state is unable to walk and put money in a bag and walk out the airport. No, it's the person that would do that. So the corporates should be immunized from the alleged definition of the illicit process that the government is trying to allege.
The patient says, I didn't see G40 on that list.
Which list?
G40 people. Because I remember the whole idea of the coup was to flush out some criminals around the president. President. Did you see anyone on that list being G40?
I don't quite know the ownership. So
you are not there, but you were considered to be G40.
No, certainly I'm not. Everybody has proved it now. That I'm not even lying in the same bed as those that they thought I was coalescing.
But that's what they are saying. They were saying that all you people had to be fired because you were G40.
Well, I live in Zimbabwe. I'm there, I'm working, and I'm doing my work and building a political dispensation for the future without necessarily coalescing with the factions of ZANU-PF in their current form or in their previous form. But what is important to be topical to what we are talking about, I wouldn't know the ownerships of the various companies that are alleged to have externalized. It is not my business to obsess myself with businesses that have nothing to do with me.
Okay. So if you look at what is taking place in Zimbabwe, it's my money. How does the government come in? That's a comment. He's shooting his own foot. Indeed, he's taking us for a ride.
Indeed.
Okay.
The people must understand what they want is leadership that is sane, clear about process, clear about constitutionalism, clear about the rule of law. And that's what my party, the United Democratic Alliance, is promising and committing to foster after the elections.
Okay. And did you notice that the African Associated Minds topped the list?
Yes, I noticed. But Africa Associated Minds is already been one that this regime has been obsessed with for a long time.
No, they took over the company. Now, after taking it over, they're still saying you owe.
Yes. The list doesn't say when the person owed.
And even they converted into shares. That's what in your committee when you left. That's what you. They said they've converted debt into what?
Into equity.
Which means part of what was
No, it's clear confusion. But you can now tell that they do have an agenda against specific individuals, even to the extent of pursuing their corporates, taking them over, and forgetting that they now owe the corporate, and stating that the corporate owes them. I mean, this is an organization they've already taken over, expropriated from Mawere, and they put it on top of the list.
On top of the list.
We need to jail this president. Because they are criminals by their own statement.
Shamisa says they stole the company. After stealing the company, they don't get jailed.
They jail the victim.
The victim. And put him on the list of looters.
Of something they've already stolen.
They've not stolen. And they don't put themselves on the list.
Oh, no. They're older than now.
So there are people who are saying
they go with this preset, so everything is there.
How many people said Mawere go and talk to these guys? This is strange, but I guess we seem to have strange things happening in Zimbabwe.
Indeed.
I think they want to use this as a political campaigning tool. John Ishkwari says, I think they want to use this as a political campaigning tool. Do you think you support what John says?
Obviously, the timing is in preparation to cleansing themselves, and that their agenda to turn around the economy is being subverted by this list of perpetrators of externalization, and that their hands are clean, and they are simply operating as the policemen and trying to arrest everybody and injure everybody's reputation. Unfortunately, the law is not on their side. The constitution is not on their side. In their own minds, they know that they are trying to be very opportunistic.
Okay. Hello, Max. Hello, Science. And I think we have, the government has released a list of companies and individuals who externalized funds, as a matter of fact. So you've just said that it's impossible for funds to be externalized. Is that correct?
Here's a matter of fact. Let's assume you are staying in the United Kingdom and you have your money in your bank, in the Lloyds Bank in London, and you choose to move that money to another jurisdiction, let's say Australia, and you move your money to Australia through the banking system. What crime have you committed? Clearly no crime. It's your money. You've chosen the jurisdiction where you want it to go. And you certainly need to apply to the bank, fill in forms, get that application approved. When does that become criminal?
So then they say, I think you once talked about the video. Do you really have it? Okay, I think this was somebody else. Yeah, this is what we are talking about: externalization, legality, constitutionalism, rule of law, with Dr. Daniel Shumba, who is here to answer any questions. And I'll give you 13 minutes to ask any question to Dr. Shumba about the list, about anything else that you may want. Mangamuri Kupanyai, Dr. Shumba. How come you are now surfacing now?
Yabuda izvozvi nyaya yacho, saka tiri kugadzirisa tichiexpose uori huri kutoitwa nevakabvuta masimba ava vachida kuti vachitanga kupomera nyika yose kuti ivo kunze kwaiva chete vamwe vose imbavha. That's basically what they're trying to say. Asi havasi kutaura zvimwe zvezvinhu zvatiri kushayiwa munyika medu kuti zviri kuindepi, zvakaita segoridhe kuti riri kuindepi, zvimwe zvicherwa kuti zviri kuendepi, zviri kuitwa naivo. That's what is criminal, not about private equity, individual funds that they transfer to the various jurisdictions, having gone through the banks and gotten a Reserve Bank approval. That certainly cannot be defined as a crime in any part of the world, including Zimbabwe, except in the minds of these people.
Okay, it's not in the Dr. Shumba. Any other question on this aspect? I know there are a lot of things that come, but we've just narrowed it to constitutionalism, legality, and rule of law. In respect of this, the idea of the list, the execution of the list, and the update on these so-called looters. And I may be one of the looters by default, but that is what we are dealing with. Chengetwai Namarishua. That's one comment. That may God protect you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, any other comment? And these people, alleged looters, have not heeded President Emerson Mnangagwa's call to return the funds. That's a crime. Imagine you are in a country, the president tells you, Dr. Shumba, return the money or else. Do you think that will be the voice of God?
First, I believe that I'll redeploy that president for him to become some financial inspector in some banking institution and looking for compliance in terms of the agreements upon which that money was externalized. That would be the role. The role of a president is not to operate like some exchange control officer of some bank. They're very different. He should be seized with the strategic running of our nation, policy formulation, and turning around our economy. If the president is going to be saying so-and-so is externalized money, he needs to then understand that people have got rights, and one of the issues is to own private property. Money is one's private property. And for as long as you move it in and out of Zimbabwe through legal means by going to the bank, getting the Reserve Bank approval to move that money to another jurisdiction, therefore that person is not criminal. You then cannot allege that that person brings back that money because you don't know the purpose for which he moved it. Because it is his money.
Yeah, then John asked the question, John Chikwari, Doctor, what do you think these name and shamed people have to do? And does the government, what is it going to do?
First, they need to assert their rights. They've got a right to privacy as much as they've got a right to their money and the right to take the money where they want. If the government alleges that these are criminals who have externalized the money, that alone is criminal on the part of government to make such an allegation, and these people must seek legal recourse to seek damages to their reputations, and certainly the government has no leg to stand on. Such overzealousness by state institutions must stop. It must be stopped. There must be a rule of law and the presumptions of innocence, and not the Wild West where you declare to give a deadline for people to comply to an illegal request. And if they don't, you publish them in their papers. Their money is theirs. They'll move it where they want, they will own it and spend it on what they want. That is their right. And the government has no business expropriating or demanding monies that is not for the state.
Then Shepherd Ben Abraham, Ekusileni Medical Center is never opened, but it is said to have externalized $3 million. How is that possible?
Clearly, these are working from a wish list, some list that they have, and the integrity of that list is obviously can be challenged. But what is criminal is to publish names of people who own their own resources, who did not borrow from the state, and asking them to return the monies to Zimbabwe because there is a Mnangagwa regime in power, and that where they took it, it was externalization. I gave an example that nowhere in the world has such ever been done.
Then Tochidi Nai.
We're coming to elections. I'm the president of the United Democratic Alliance. We are contesting all 120 seats, and I'm ready to give leadership and bring sanity to the governance and leadership of Zimbabwe. My profile is well known. I've experience. I've worked as a legislator. I've been a politician and a known business person. So here, my hands are safe for leadership. Entrust your vote for me, and I will ensure that such madness does not happen in our beautiful country.
Okay, somebody saying who is your guest?
I'm Dr. Daniel Shumba. To give you a rendition of my full profile would be quite long, but I'm the president of the United Democratic Alliance, and I'm here speaking to you as a Zimbabwean and as the president of the United Democratic Alliance, giving my views on the madness that we watched today being published in the papers.
Okay, let me just show that so that people can see it. I think there are people now commenting. Manika, if the money was legally externalized and private property, why is it a crime?
Clearly, it's not a crime. It's a desperate search for relevance that the current regime is trying to do, and creating misconceptions and misleading the country that these people are guilty of crimes they have not been convicted of.
Okay. And then it's better to close Zimbabwe as a country. How can we be led by people who always blame someone else for their ignorance?
No, we can't close the country. We can vote them out and vote the same people in. People that are willing to work honestly who are not caught up in this litany of illegalities.
Then nokubonga ngwenya Philip akungi update agenele ngubani low opendula imbuzo kunambani lapa, and capital gains tax is government money.
Yeah, first, Nyabonga, ibizo lami ngu Dr. Daniel Shumba. I'm the president where United Democratic Alliance. Contest my elections in 2018 in Zimbabwe, and we expect to get your vote. Yes, indeed, capital gains is money that is the entitlement of Zimbabwe, and I don't see how that applies in this instance, because capital gains is the difference between the value.
Is it government money or it belongs to the taxpayer?
It belongs to Zimbabweans.
No, you have to realize capital gains and you pay tax to government.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to explain is that the capital gains.
Because some people think the tax is government money.
No.
It's private money.
Yes.
That is collected,
yes,
for the benefit of the public.
Indeed.
It's
part of revenue that
of the people. It's a penalty for success.
For citizens. Yeah. But what I wanted to distinguish is, for instance, if you had a house and it was 2 million and you sold it for 4 million, the capital gain of that house would be the additional 2 million, and that is what will be taxed. I don't seem to understand the import of that question in relationship to the list that we are introspecting.
Yeah, Ramay Mash says it is not borrowing from state, it is not paying taxes. I don't know what that means. Oh, okay, I get it. Democratic Alliance, biased point of view, that's what she says. That you are giving us a biased point of view.
I'm happy to tell you that, yes, I'm biased to the truth, and I'm biased to the Constitution, I'm biased to the rule of law, and that I'll continue to do, and respect your rights as well, because you are entitled to your money, you're entitled to move it where you want.
Then those man I'm sick of their Hong Kong democracy.
Indeed, thank you.
Then Clayton Misha, surely this government cannot be that stupid. Is it not the case that these companies will not have declared enough profits, monies to be able to pay the tax revenue to the revenue authority, to Zimra?
Unfortunately, you are mixing issues here. This is about externalization and not payments to Zimra. They are simply saying you moved your money from Zimbabwe to another place, and therefore
of your choice.
Whether you are sending it to your mother, father, brother, or you're investing in another business in another jurisdiction. And therefore, they are calling it externalization. I gave the example that the investors that we want in Zimbabwe right now are moving their monies from other jurisdictions legally through their banking systems in those jurisdictions to Zimbabwe. They are not externalizing, they are investing. When it is the Zimbabwean doing it, it is externalization. When you move your money to a place of your choice, it's externalization. We need to remove that confusion. Zimbabweans are legal people, and those people who are on that list are innocent until proven guilty. Let's stop this knee-jerk behavior of criminalizing everybody purely because of our own failures.
Okay, I think we got, and semantics, but that's the money that ED is talking about. And when you say thank you, join led.
How much has ED himself moved out of Zimbabwe? Is that the question now?
No, he's saying that we are talking semantics.
That is his right. If he has got his money and he moves it out, ED has got a right to move his money anywhere he wants.
Okay, and then the patient says, then ED committed a crime. Those companies, they must sue him for disclosing their private company, private matters.
Indeed, I know that a number of them are already preparing to assert their legal rights.
And then Philip says, I'm not interested in companies because I don't know who owns that company. I want to see names of individuals who stole money. Minister of Mines, Zimra, police, and more.
Correct.
And then John, if deep research is going to be done, we'll be baffled to see that most of those companies, their directors were G40 supporters or sympathizers. Yet the game here is the fight between the Lacoste and the G40. So this was not done at national level. And who did the research and with whose right granted from?
Indeed. In fact, the illegalities start even from the bank, in that the bank has got a court where the information between bank and client is confidential. The issues also go to Reserve Bank that granted the exchange control approval, and so forth. So there's a litany of violations of privacy, of confidentiality, and naturally of criminalizing what is perceived to be an otherwise innocent transaction.
Okay.
If Zimbabwe wants money to be inward flowing, it should make the environment good. Remove a care clause, stop expropriation, stop entitling itself to private equity, and therefore it will be attractive. We would have a lot more money destined for Zimbabwe than destined out of Zimbabwe.
Okay. So there are people who obviously are commenting. And why was this externalization law introduced? When was it introduced? Semantics, Mr. Shumba, you are the one making assumptions. People who paid $500 million know what they did. Let them explain themselves and stop opposing for the sake of it. He did say they will have the wrath of the law.
I agree with you. So why doesn't the law take its course and find them guilty than to try and shame people without proving that they are guilty? We can't start by pronouncing these people to be guilty and then say the law should now apply. And when the law finds them innocent, are you going to be able to undo the damage? It's wrong. Our statutes are clear. One is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Otherwise, you all would be guilty until proven innocent.
Okay. So I hope that is clear. Why did this company sign the DC forms if they felt this was not fair? I think it means CD1 form.
CD1 form. No, every export, those processes take place. But remember, I gave an example that if you grow bananas on your farm, you sell some at Mbare, and you decide to sell some in Mozambique. That is your money you're entitled to it. If you've not been paid in Mozambique by the people you sold those bananas to, it doesn't become a crime in Zimbabwe. It is between you and your client. The state has no beef in that.
In the last 38 years, was Mnangagwa a minister in government?
Oh no, he's been in government since independence.
So you are saying that he knew about this theft?
Oh, that's what he's saying.
But when he was a minister of justice, why didn't he pursue this? Why did he have to wait to remove?
No, he's being opportunistic. He's trying to play good boy. Very wise suddenly because there are elections. It doesn't work.
So you mean this is a game or what?
Of course, he's trying to fool the Zimbabwean population.
Are you sure your former vice president is an actor?
I'm telling you on the basis of what he's doing now.
Yeah.
That is being opportunistic.
Oh, so this is Kim Kardashian?
Of course.
This is a reality show.
It's some fallacy, because the point is there is no government that has got a right to anyone's money. Money remains the owner of its principal. and not the state.
Ramai says, Mr. Shumba, without our own currency, we have no hope of a successful economy. Let's look at the elephant in the room. Why businesses are robbing Zimbabwe? It is the US dollars. It is the US dollar that is the issue. Ramai is on your case.
No, that's correct. I agree that the delinquency of our monetary system causes our economy to be very porous to exploitation by others. But that is not the issue. Most of these transactions that were listed in the media today are transactions that took place during the Zim dollar.
Did they even talk about the transaction or the timing?
No,
was there any debt?
No debt.
No debt.
This is a Zim
so
dollar
that's why,
process.
No, you are assuming it is a Zim dollar process.
No, I certainly know about.
How do you know what is the president's mind?
I don't know about what is in his mind.
Yeah, but
I know about the distortion. That one of the companies that is on top of the list was taken over by the government of Zimbabwe through a Reconstruction Act during the Zim dollar era, and they list it today.
But do you know? Did you know that African Associated Mines is not even a legal trading entity?
I know.
But so why would they list number one without even knowing?
This is the point.
Where is the president getting his information?
I'm saying that opportunistic behavior is what I'm exposing. To say.
So you're saying the president is not informed, just got vomited the list, someone vomited the list?
No, certainly it might not be the vomiting, but clearly it's distortion.
Okay. So, and Ramai still is at the elephant in the room. Can Zimbabwe be robbed?
I don't think, first of all, if Ramai had $1,000 US, and he decides to send it to his brother.
No, how can, have you ever seen Mr. Zimbabwe?
No.
So how can Zimbabwe be robbed?
This is the point. If Ramai sent his money to his brother in Zambia, he is not externalizing.
No, just
Ramai's money that he's giving his brother. It's not a crime, and the state has no business.
But how can
Ramai's affairs?
How can the harvest be stolen when the farmer doesn't know?
The people.
So who is producing the list?
The people who should be complainants are these corporates to say we've not been paid our money.
But they are the ones who are being targeted.
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm trying to explain.
Who is playing this movie?
No, this is a movie being played by an actor who long died before the movie was scripted.
I think we need to have a script, right? Okay, Mushana says, Dr. Shumba, here, what you are saying, but that document CD1 form makes it a crime. How does a form make anything a crime?
No.
And why did these organizations comply in the first place? I think he doesn't know what a CD1 form is and what it's intended for. Who is the exporter?
I think my brother he probably has not exported before.
Yeah.
The intention of exporting goods is usually you export to another jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And when you export to another jurisdiction, conditionalities include the financing of that transaction.
Yeah.
That is a standard on international trade. For the Reserve Bank to okay that process, there would be compliance with that process.
But it's a declaration.
You are declaring you as the owner.
That these are my goods.
I'm taking them to X jurisdiction. The money and the value of those goods still remains yours. And it does not become the state's money. CD1 forms is not a transfer of value.
No, it's not surrender.
No.
You are not surrendering your value.
So I think we need to help people understand that they don't lose their rights because they filled some form.
No. Yeah. He's playing a Game of Thrones, Kim Kardashian. John says, how did you get the access to someone's bank account or company accounts? Please explain to me. Does the government has that right?
No.
I think that's
only thieves do that.
Even a thief. Why would you be looking in someone's bedroom? I mean,
You see, this is, we need to respect the rights to private equity, private capital, right to property, and that right is not given away because some government or some regime performed a coup.
Yeah.
It wants to frighten everybody from their rights. No.
Okay, then somebody is listening. The money belongs to you when you earn it.
Yes.
Private rights are in operation. You want to export or import by using your own money. You then make a formal declaration through the custom declaration form as a regulatory process.
Yes.
You have 90 days to do the acquittal or extension or cancellation of the CD1 form. So what's this treatment of people as if they've stolen money, yet it may be a pending regulatory process or an administrative oversight for someone who has already cleared. A violation of a regulatory process should not be seen as fraud or theft of public funds.
Correct.
It may mean a bottleneck or some inefficiency that needs fixing by regulators. It may also mean for somebody, it may also mean that somebody has not received money. It's not a crime.
It's not a crime.
Somebody may be bankrupt.
They're trying to violate process, and he rightly captures it.
Yeah.
But also choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think we need to copy this for people who are slow at it.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think he has done more.
He's done a good job.
A good job, excellent job. I think we should call it the University of Life. Yeah, I think I did that. So I think we've done so Dr. Shumba wants to go, and wrong grammar, Mr. Jibayo Company. Okay, I think we have done our bit, and I've hijacked Dr. Shumba, and he is obliged, and we think there is something that we can do for ourselves is learn, and that's excellent. I think we have a lot to learn, and thank you, Dr. Shumba, for spending time. Dr. Shumba, I listened to your press conference last week. You seem to have ideas that can help catapult Zimbabwe into the 22nd century with your party relatively unknown and your ideas possibly hard to sell to people in Zimbabwe. Why did you not join a party that is already established and have a better chance of winning elections?
Thank you for your views. Once we have officially launched very soon, and you've seen our manifesto, you realize how key we are. We are already extended countrywide in every constituency, mobilizing. What we have not done is gone on top of the mountain yet. We have been very strategic. We will release our manifesto once ZANU-PF has released theirs and the others have released theirs, because there's also a danger of our unique ideas being plagiarized by those that have repeatedly been in the political arena.
So there we are. Let us keep thinking, dreaming, reflecting, and I think there are more comments coming, but I think that's the way it is. It's gone. Time is give extra time in this discussion, please. We are listening a lot from Dr. Shumba. Dr. Shumba has to take care of some other business, but we will arrange again some other time for Dr. Shumba to be able to weigh in on issues so that we will be there. So I think we are